Hey guys, I'm William Ritter with Song to Seed. I get asked a lot about saving tomato seeds. Um, you can do it kind of like the old timers and just take your seeds and squeeze them out and put them right onto a piece of cardboard or a napkin and fold them over and dry them that way. But the problem with that is that you don't go through a natural fermentation process. And the reason that's important is it actually helps get rid of some diseases that can attack your plant in the next year. They'll be more likely to sprout. There's these germination factors that get checked off. And they come out just looking really beautiful and clean. It's like if you open up a seed packet, the tomatoes in there, they're not all red and covered in petrified goop. They look just like fuzzy and beautiful. So I'll go through the way that I do that. There's different ways, but this is kind of my favorite. So first of all, you start with a beautiful tomato, or a really ugly tomato, that's fine too. But I like to let them get pretty ripe, maybe just a tad past the ripe where they taste best. This is a Red Ann, or Red Annie. It comes from Jackson County. It's an heirloom there. If you want a nice little reveal upon opening it, it's a delicious tomato. But basically, this part's pretty simple. So you find a jar. I like this one, as I've only started using it this year because it has these rounded sides, and I'll show you later how that can be helpful.
This is Sarah. I am William's wife, and I am videotaping this, and I'm going to give him just a little hint. William, can you just again say what you're doing? So you are
saving tomato seeds.
You're explaining how to save tomato
Yeah,
seeds.
this is William Ritter's way of saving tomato seeds. Didn't I say that?
Yeah, I just as people join,
Oh, the joining. I forgot about that. Yeah. So, basically, just gonna take your little cup mason jar. I like to use glass so I can look through it and see what's going on in there. Basically, you're just gonna take and scoop out seeds. I don't know, Sarah, if you can see that pretty well. The cherry tomatoes are simple because you just pretty much squeeze and all the goop comes out. But you want that goop. That goop's important. So on and so forth. And then you can just throw the rest, what you got left over, into salsa, but you'll notice it doesn't have quite the same flavor without the seeds. The seeds are a big part of where all that taste, that tartness comes from. But you put those in there. It's okay if a little bits of the tomato get in there. And I like the more seeds and more goop you can get in there, the better. It'll ferment a little bit better. But if you only have a little bit, like this, I would go ahead and I would add just a little bit of water. And whenever you add water, I also suggest you take a little pinch of sugar and just drop it in there. And that'll help it ferment and help it move along the process. So you're going to let it sit for a day or two. And what you're looking for is for it to get all moldy on top. And I like the glass. I'll shake it a little bit. And even if it's not that moldy, if you shake it and all the seeds kind of drop down to the bottom, that means it's ready. But what you're going to do is you can take coffee filters actually work pretty well, even like used coffee filters that you dried out. And I'm using a little cheesecloth here. But take that and put it over the top. Get one of Sarah's hair bands. They work great. She leaves them everywhere. They're actually rubber bands work a little easier, but put that on there, straighten the top, and this is a really important part, super important, that you want to write the variety on there, because it is so easy to think you're like, oh, I remember what I put in there, and then you have it, and it's working off, and then you have no idea what you put in there. So anyway, you're going to let this sit until it gets like this, where it's kind of got that mold on top, and if you're wondering why the salt was here, that's so you can cut off a little hunk of your tomato. Okay, so you're gonna need a strainer, pretty fine one. Don't want to be too fine though, because that makes it a little harder. We're gonna take our fermented goodness here.
And if you guys have any questions as we go about the seed saving process, you can also put those in the chat here, and I will ask William in real time. I will relay those questions to him for you.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead, and if I've got one, haven't always lived somewhere where I've got one, but I like to take these squirties and squirts here because they help stir things up. And what I'm doing is kind of loosen up any hunks that are left over, and then the bad seeds, essentially the ones that aren't any good, and most of the other gunk, you just pour off, and then keep doing that process.
And these are the ones that you just put in the jar, or is this after they ferment?
This is after they fermented.
Okay, after they fermented.
Sometimes they'll hang on to the kind of tomato part, and I will loosen that sometimes to see. But if they float, you don't want them.
You don't want the floaters. That's
Yes.
what we're learning.
No, you do not want the floaters. And that's why I like this, because they got a little bit of pressure to help really stir it up. And again, if you've got the wide brim mason jars aren't as good as the ones that any kind of thing that would slope in, because it can help you kind of catch the good stuff and pour off the chaff.
So you don't even have to be that careful, it looks like. They really do sink.
Yeah, I mean, they really do. And if you're like me, you're saving so many seeds right there even, that's a lot of tomato plants.
Yeah, let's zoom in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you just, now that I've got those pretty well cleaned off, just put them into the strainer. So usually there's like one that's hanging on there, and I get it. And again, be careful. Sometimes these can have so much force they'll actually like squirt them out of your thing. But I rinse them off. I like to try to kind of spread them around, and I wipe the back off because it's usually super wet. Maybe you just tap it just a little bit, and then bring it over here. Can you see, Sarah?
Yeah.
And I set it on a plate. If I'm using coffee filters, which I used to use a lot, I'll move it over to the coffee filter, which in Sharpie still has the variety on it. That works pretty well. But then you just take and flick. Make sure everybody's off of there. And you can sit here and really tediously like separate them all from each other. But what I usually do is I just let them sit. I might separate them a little bit. Sometimes when I'm feeling really particular, I'll separate them all. But once they dry and they kind of make these clumps with each other, those little hairs grab onto each other, you can just kind of gently pick up the clumps when they dry and just run through your hands, and they'll just kind of break up like that. So that's how you save your tomato seeds. And if you want to see what they look like, we can zoom in this far.
William, would you put like a little note?
Oh yeah,
note.
Yeah.
Put
That's
a sticky note here. Or
really
something.
important. With these, I've been taking my leftover variety note, and I just left it on top like that, and then I put them all over the house, and I drive Sarah crazy. But you can, I don't know if you can zoom in or not.
No, not really.
Anyway, so you can see that seed is nice and fluffy. And what people say is to know when they're ready to be put away is you can actually take the seed, and if it breaks in half and snaps, then it's nice and dry. I think that's a terrible thing to do to a seed. So I just let them get good and dry. I'll just let them sit out for a few weeks. If you have AC, if you have air conditioning, it'll do it really fast. It can be like in a few days. If you're like us and don't have air conditioning, it will take a while. But I just let them sit, and then you can put them in little like pill bags. Those work great, and then put them in a mason jar with all your other seeds you've been saving, and put them in the freezer, and they'll last like 50 years. So
yeah,
save your seeds.
Important to name those varieties so that we're able to save seeds that increase genetic diversity and save local culture.
Yeah, be resilient.
Be resilient. So, William, Is that the process? We've done it.
Yeah.
So you get out the goop and you put the tomato seeds. You guys can rewatch this. You put the tomato seeds. William is looking at our other tomato seeds right now. You put the tomato seeds in the jar. You ferment them. You wait until they're a little bit moldy on top. It's like a nice earthy process. And then you do what William just did by pouring them out. The floating seeds get discarded.
Yeah. Then I take and I put them in a little one of these pill bags. When you go to CVS and buy like all of these that they have, they think you're a drug dealer. But but anyways, so I write the variety and I always write the year. Some people write the next year, but I wouldn't do that. I usually just write the year that I saved them. That tells me a lot of information that I should also write in your journal. Keep your garden journals. But these work well. I wouldn't put them right in the freezer like this. I would put them inside something else because these aren't freezer bags.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're cute.
And we really want everybody who is listening, Lindsay, one of our dear friends here in the chat, is reminding us that we have some publicity to do about the Bean String Ballad Sing. So do you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, so if you're not watching this like a year from now, if you're watching it right now, on August 22nd, which is a Saturday at 4 o'clock p.m., there's going to be our Bean String Ballad Sing, which is something I've been working on for so long that I still get it a little bit backwards, but we're partnering with the North Carolina Arts Council, and it's something I started as a part of a grant, actually, that I got from the American Folk Life Center. But anyway, it's going to be online, and it's an opportunity for people to come hear Bobby McMillan and Susan Pepper, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of facilitating and maybe a little singing. And we might also have another guest, but that's going to be on Facebook Live and on Zoom. And so we hope you'll come, and we hope you'll break beans with us and maybe share some stories in the chat about some times that you've prepared food and had music and kind of intimate moments. And that's what we're trying to get back to, sort of an old context and a pretty new context. So thanks for listening. Sarah, do you have any other supportive things?
Yeah, I just say check out the Facebook event for the Bean String Ballad Sing. It kind of explains more of what we're trying to do. Bobby McMillan is a really well-known ballad singer. So is Susan Pepper. They're really wonderful friends of ours, and they always just have so much to share, so much knowledge, beautiful songs, and there's just a lot there. So we do hope that you'll join us. This is our dog Bo, and we can sign off with him saying goodbye. But thanks, and we hope that this seed saving tutorial can be helpful to you this year with your gardens. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.